everybody's biggest concern. When is the last moment? Is there ever gonna be a time when like, I can't get it? The answer to that is, hey everyone, I'm Lavonne and welcome back to my YouTube channel. One of the most popular, most common questions that I get, especially from my clients when they're talking about whether or not they're gonna choose to have an epidural for pain management during labor is, should I delay getting my epidural? Is there benefit to waiting to getting an epidural, even if you're super uncomfortable with your contractions? And so I'm gonna answer that question today. Before I answer that question though, I wanna just make a very quick comment related to the fact that I say all the time to flex and flow in your labor. If you've watched any of my videos, and don't forget to flex and flow. Please don't forget to flex and flow. Don't forget to flex and flow. Don't forget to flex and flow. If you haven't seen my flex and flow videos, go and find that. We'll link them down below because there is this flex and flow related to labor and birth compared to any other specialty in the hospital, that there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of like, I'm gonna answer a question, I'm gonna be like, well, yes, but also no. And you're like, wait, that's not an answer. But it actually is, because what I wanna do for you is help you figure out what's important to you, and what's important to you might be very different than what's important for your sister, or your best friend, or somebody else on TikTok. And so what I wanna say is that this answer is one of those, that it is a no, you shouldn't delay your epidural, but also you might wanna consider delaying your epidural. And so I'm gonna give you both sides and then see how it feels in you. That is really what I want for you. I don't wanna ever make a decision for you. I wanna help you navigate your own decisions, because again, in labor and birth, somebody might make this decision, another person make the other, and they're both great. All right, there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of control that you have for your decisions. And so, in general, should you delay your epidural? My answer is no. That no matter how dilated you are, if you are 1 centimeter and you are suffering, remember there's a difference between pain and suffering. Pain is like, ouch, that hurts, and it's not gonna last me forever, and I know that, and I'm okay. Versus suffering is like a deep emotional, I hate this day, it's the worst ever, I never wanna do this again, where it potentially causes trauma. That is never worth it. There is nothing worth your mental health. I say that all the time. And so if you are not coping, you are that uncomfortable and you need pain relief, please don't delay it, okay? And I've been trying to say and instead of but for a lot of things, because it's always and or, but I'm also gonna say but, but you actually have to be admitted to the hospital in order to get an epidural. And if you've taken the bundle birth class or you've watched a million of my videos, I talk all the time about the reason why we want to delay you being admitted to the hospital. And that is that the later you're admitted to the hospital, meaning ideally you go to the hospital when you are in active labor, which is 6 centimeters dilated, that you're setting yourself up for a vaginal birth, for potentially avoiding medical interventions that come with complications, cascade of other things. And so if you want to set yourself up for labor to just work, ideally you're laboring at home and coping until either you can't cope anymore or you're about 6 centimeters and it looks like you're in active labor. If you don't know what that means, I teach you all of that in the bundle birth class and a bunch of my other videos here, so that's a video for another day. But you want to be admitted at about 6 centimeters. So if you're not admitted to the hospital, you can't get an epidural at home. Sorry, right? Ideally, you're admitted to the hospital, you have to have an IV, potentially they have to get your labs back from the lab, they draw your blood, send it off, get it back because the anesthesiologist wants to see that so they can do it in a safe way, and then you can get an epidural. And so if you're 1 centimeter and not coping but you're at home, obviously that's not an option for you. And so my caveat is, first one, is that you have to be admitted in the hospital. And so you can't get an epidural in triage when they're assessing you. They have to say, yes, there's a reason to admit you. And some hospitals are going to strongly encourage you to go home if it's earlier in labor. Now, some like variations of that is if you're being induced, if you're in the hospital, you're being induced, you are uncomfortable at 1 centimeter and you are suffering, there's nothing worth your mental health, get an epidural. okay? And in fact, all of our major organizations, ACOG, A1, they're all gonna recommend that we do not delay getting an epidural for pain management, right? As a nurse, pain is our sixth vital sign. It's our responsibility. We wanna take care of that if that's your preference, okay? So you have to be admitted to the hospital. In general, it's not gonna increase your C-section risk by getting it earlier. And here's my other caveat, okay? Because I've been a part of so many births, and I do have a strong, I'm gonna say anecdotal opinion that the longer that you are mobile, meaning upright, and this does hold a ton of evidence, this is what I teach nurses, the longer you are mobile and upright in particular, which you cannot be standing once you get an epidural unless you have a walking epidural, ask your doctors, ask your hospital if that's an option, but it's pretty rare, the faster your labor goes, / the easier your labor goes, and potentially it helps you cope. And so you have to keep in mind that if we're talking about risk benefit, that the earlier you get an epidural, the earlier you're stuck in bed. Now, can we do position changes? Yes, we have an app for that. If your nurses aren't using bundle birth resources, encourage them to, because we have tons on positioning. So you can still do stuff in bed, but ideally for setting up the body for the baby to align and things to be soft and baby to be able to tuck and turn and go through all of their motions to get ready and make it easier on you, you wanna be mobile as long as possible, okay? So just keep that in mind when you're considering that. And again, if you're suffering, then get an epidural. It's not the end of the world, okay? And then your nurses can help you turn in bed. Hopefully you have a doula. They can also help you, okay? Now, my other caveats to when you should delay getting an epidural, maybe even skip it, is if there is no time. And that's one of everybody's biggest concerns, that they're concerned that like, when is the last moment? Is there ever gonna be a time when like, I can't get it? The answer to that is also not really. And again, I'm here to give you honest information about this and not just tell you what you wanna hear, because yes, if you are 10 centimeters, you arrive to the hospital, this baby's coming out, it takes about 20 to 30 minutes to prep you for the epidural. About, I'm gonna say 5, but when you like undo the whole kit and they do the procedure and they tape you up, 20 minutes to do the procedure. And then it takes a minimum of about 15 to 20 minutes for you to start feeling pain relief. That's an hour, okay? So if you are gonna have the baby within an hour, you might as well cope in whatever position, in however you feel like you need to cope to have this baby, instead of having to like sit for an epidural and hold still, which is not fun, okay? So if there's no time, yes, you should delay an epidural, just do it, okay? Your recovery potentially is easier, you're up and moving right away, then you kind of rule out. But in general, will they do them at 10 centimeters? Will they place an epidural when you are that far along? As long as this baby's literally not falling out of you, potentially yes. Talk to your provider about that, okay? And then the other caveat I'm gonna say, just for like delaying an epidural, I know that when you think about contractions, when you think about labor, what do you think of? You think like, oh my gosh, it's gonna hurt so much, okay? And so there's a lot of fear that I see going into your labor and birth, specifically related to the pain. And so I wanna just throw it out there to pay attention to when you're asking for an epidural. Is it really because you're not coping and the pain is so overwhelming? Or is it because you're scared of the pain? And if it's in the case of scared of pain, to remove the mobility and potentially even not be in labor at that point, hopefully you're admitted to the hospital, potentially will set you up for a slower labor. And the earlier you get it, in my experience, the more chance of potentially needing Pitocin, okay, which stimulates contractions. This is all very complicated. Again, I break all of this down in the bundle birth class. But my sort of side notes are, if there's no time, or if you're not feeling pain and you are actually coping okay, or maybe you just need another intervention, then just keep waiting until you actually need it based on the pain. I hope that answered your question. Well, like half answering your question, but I hope that you can kind of feel in you and also not put yourself on a timetable when you're in labor. Feel out, how am I feeling? It might be overwhelming, but overwhelming isn't necessarily bad, okay? And therefore, I'm also gonna recommend that you learn to cope so that you can stay home, so that you can set yourself up for that faster labor. And so, of course, I'm gonna recommend not only the bundle birth class to help you understand all of the things that go into giving birth, but also my coping with labor class. And then I have a freebie for you. So if you look down in the description box down below, I have a free visualization for you to get you started. If you love it, there's a whole visualization class. Make sure you subscribe. If you want more from me, make sure you comment. Tell me what you want. I see all of your comments. I like to comment back and be like, oh, interesting, cool. I'll put it on the list. And then until next time, don't forget to flex and flow, and I will see you soon. Bye. One of the very big questions, the big ones. It's a big one, the biggest. What else am I supposed to ask them? I hope that you can navigate that like you dreamed. That's all I got.